Hi. The 1800s is a period of time that we now call the Romantic era. And just like the Baroque and the Classical eras, music followed the same trends as architecture, art and writing. In the Romantic era, writers like Lord Byron and William Wordsworth used dramatic imagery to portray human emotions, and artists like Turner painted vivid landscapes that illustrated the beauty of nature. Composers in the Romantic era were also inspired by nature, and they were less bothered about following set structures like their predecessors in the Classical era. The music was all about exploring emotive subjects like love, joy, peace, death, war, and beauty. Some of the most famous composers of the era are Franz Liszt, Hector Berlioz, Richard Wagner, and Frédéric Chopin. Chopin was born in Poland in a small village near Warsaw in 1810. His parents recognized his musical ability from a young age, and by the time he was 8 years old, he was already able to play piano to an impressive level. Chopin attended the Warsaw Conservatoire of Music, and after graduating, he moved to Vienna, Austria, which was where so many other composers made their name. Chopin quickly became well known as a virtuoso pianist and an accomplished composer. When Chopin was 22, he moved to Paris, where he became friends with some very well-known writers and composers such as Hector Berlioz and Franz Liszt. Despite all this travelling, Chopin still loved his home country of Poland, and many of his compositions are influenced by traditional Polish folk melodies and dance rhythms. Within just a few years of living in Paris, Chopin became very ill with tuberculosis, and when he was 28 he decided to move to Majorca in the hope that the warmer climate would help him recover. Unfortunately, the locals of Majorca feared that they might catch the disease themselves, so they forced Chopin to live in exile in an abandoned monastery in Valdemossa. It was in this abandoned monastery that Chopin composed our next set work, Piano Prelude No. 15 in D-flat major, also known as the Raindrop Prelude. Sadly, Chopin never recovered from his illness, and he died at his home in France at the age of 39. The Raindrop Prelude is one of a series of 24 preludes that Chopin composed between 1835 and 1839. At the time, Chopin was studying another series by a Baroque composer called J.S. Bach, called the Well-Tempered Clavier. Bach's collection of 48 preludes and fugues was composed in all of the 24 musical keys, with each piece a semitone higher than the one before. Unlike Bach, who composed 2 pieces for each of the 24 musical keys, Chopin composed 1 piece per key, and he used a pattern called the circle of fifths to order his collection. The whole idea of a prelude, emphasis on pre, is to introduce something else. For example, Bach composed his 24 preludes to set the tone for their corresponding fugue in the same key. Chopin's preludes, on the other hand, are all standalone pieces intended to portray a certain idea or emotion. Before we delve into the fine detail of our third set work, it's a good idea to get an idea of what makes romantic music sound the way it does. Classical ideas of balance and symmetry were thrown out in the Romantic era and replaced by an emphasis on expressing human emotions. Composers experimented with chords, extending them to include more notes, making them more colourful. Harmony became more complex and dissonant, often moving chromatically. Dynamics became much more varied and extreme. Music from the Romantic era is also known for long lyrical melody lines with graceful ornamentation, rapid virtuosic passages called cadenza, and the music would often be intended to describe a particular scene or tell a story, and this is called program music. Compositions became more and more difficult to play, requiring higher levels of technical ability from the musician. The orchestra also continued to grow, and technological advancements marked the invention of many modern instruments as we know them today, such as the valve trumpet and the modern piano. So this was an introduction to Setwork 3, Chopin's Raindrop Prelude. Thanks for liking and commenting on this video and for subscribing. Bye! Now, one really important musical feature from the Romantic era that I forgot to mention in the video was the use of rubato. Rubato is when the performer will speed up or slow down when they feel like it to add expression to the music, and it's a feature that's used loads in this set work, so you must remember it.